I've never been more happy to see the Eagles win. Never in my life.
Never?
Never.
That's probably true.
I probably will never again be more happy to see the Eagles win. But
I wholeheartedly agree. I probably will never root for the Eagles ever again.
For the win!
hello and welcome back to the Eastman Sport Report. I'm your host, Max Eastman, joined once again by my co-host, Steven Eastman.
Hello, Max. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm finally, recovering from my basketball season being over because it ended Friday.
Technically, Thursday was your last.
It ended Thursday.
Thursday was your last game.
And it's
now Sunday.
It's now Sunday. We're recording this the Sunday, 1 week after the Super Bowl.
It's NBA All-Star game.
NBA All-Star weekend.
The All-Star weekend games, I think, start in about an hour. So we are before the All-Star games. So we don't. This will probably get uploaded after the All-Star games. So we're not going to break down deep analysis whether it's Shaq's OGs or Kenny's international. No, Kenny has the young stars or Chuck's global stars or the whatever the rising stars name is. There's
Team C.
Team Candace is the name.
Good for them. Is that their coach?
Yes. Is it Candace Parker, maybe? I don't know. Anyway. I do think it's, if I briefly mention the All-Star game here, we're not going to talk about it too much. If they're going to keep this format, you basically have 4 teams of 8. You do have. Basically, you do have 4 teams of 8. Okay. With 4 teams of 8, do you increase the All-Star game rosters to 32 players so people like, say, Sabonis and Fox, which Fox is no longer a king, but Sabonis and Fox could make the All-Star teams because you need 32 players now? Or do you like the fact that it has the rising stars, so they're going to play Team Shaq, the OGs, and who's going to have more energy?
I think that it's a good idea for the rising stars to be there because they won something and they want to beat the team of the actual all-stars.
Yeah.
Instead of just a bunch of rookies playing against each other in their own game. I think it's interesting to see the rookie team being able to go against all of these other all-stars that are have been here for years.
Yeah. So I do think it's going to bring a little bit of energy. We'll see. We'll see if it brings energy. I think it will. That's probably why they did it. But also, like that team Candace, who gets to play on Sunday, they had to play their way into Sunday. So it's like there's an incentive on the Friday night Rising Stars game to move. Hey, if you play good enough, we can go play on Sunday. So I like that. I'm just wondering, are they going to increase the rosters a little bit to help with? There seems like there's always so many people that get left out that are deserving. Like there's so many good players in the NBA right now. 24 slots are probably not enough for the amount of all-stars that they need to have. But, it does make it selective and hard to get. But sometimes I think it's they don't do a good job of selecting the right players. Like there's some people on there that I'm like, maybe I'm partial with my Sacramento jersey on here. And
your Sacramento Kings phone case was just off camera.
Yeah, you can't see that. It's recording that. But you're like, it's like, yeah, Sabonis doesn't. He made it once as a King. But, the Kings are 9th in the West, so maybe that's...
You only make it when you're 3rd in the West, apparently.
Yeah, if you're Sacramento, so... We'll see. Anyway, that's our All-Star Game recap.
Preview. Matt McClung is doing really well, but I just really wish that you didn't just have Matt McClung and we had more people.
I like the response online from people like Ja Morant saying, well, maybe I want to be in the All-Star game. And then Giannis says, if you're going to be in the dunk contest, I'll get in the dunk contest. And then I heard today Zach LaVine says, if Ja Morant's coming back, I'll go back in the dunk contest. Like, that's what you need is a little star power.
I don't...
Could you imagine Ja Morant and Giannis and Zach LaVine back? No, Zach LaVine's probably not a big draw. But, that would be a way more ratings to get a star. Even a couple stars to go against each other.
I totally agree. I personally, as a Kings fan who has watched a bunch of Kings games, I think having Malik Monk as a dunk contest would be way better. He would have way better results than an older Zach LaVine.
Yeah, probably. But Zach LaVine, he's a previous
young Zach LaVine, very, very good dunker, but like he's old now. Old in NBA terms.
He's 29. He's not that old.
Well, he's older.
But he's a previous winner, so you bring the cachet of a previous dunk contest winner, like multiple-time winner. I think he won it twice against Aaron Gordon. Didn't win 3 because Matt McClung's the first one to do it 3 times in a row. Three-peat before the Chiefs. Yeah.
Speaking of the Chiefs, what was that? What was the Super Bowl?
It was a demonstration that your offense and defensive lines are very important in football.
The Eagles had the best offensive and defensive line in the entire league, and that showed up. There are clips of Eagles defensive linemen. I forget who it is. I think it's the left guard. He blocks one guy, sees another person coming around, so then he does a spin move off of his guy to block him instead.
Is that Becton?
I don't know.
I think he was the right guard as Becton.
No, I'm talking about left guards.
Okay, I don't know.
Left sides.
Yeah, I didn't see that video, but they had a really good offensive line and a really good defensive line. And as a quarterback, like Jalen Hurts won the MVP. But when he's not touched as much as he is, like pick your run-of-the-mill average quarterback behind that offensive line, yeah, they're going to win MVP. Derick Carr could have won MVP in that game behind that offensive line.
Yeah, totally agree.
He's just
totally agree.
Random quarterback that I'm thinking of that you wouldn't think of as a Super Bowl winner. But when you play off that defense of line, especially, and Cooper John, they had some really good interceptions too.
Yes,
they didn't drop them; they actually caught them. And I got a pick 6. But when you play with that defense and that offensive line, and just the threat of the run, like the Chiefs were so much like Saquon Barkley's not going to win. Like I came on last week in this thing and said, if the Chiefs are going or the Eagles are going to win, it's going to be because of Saquon Barkley.
It was not because of Saquon Barkley.
Well,
it was because of everyone else.
It was the threat of Saquon Barkley, and that the defense was so focused on Saquon Barkley that they were able to pass. Like the threat of the run opened up the pass. And like I say, take your average top 20, 25 quarterback, anybody behind that offensive line would have beat the Chiefs that day with the amount of time he had. I mean, so good job on Jalen Hurts.
Jimmy Garoppolo could have done a lot in that line.
That's true. You put Jimmy Garoppolo on that line and he's Super Bowl MVP. I mean, he had a beautiful deep throw. I do have to say, he had some beautiful throws.
Jalen Hurts had some great throws.
Yeah, sorry. Jalen Hurts had some.
Just clarifying.
I don't know who I said. I don't know if I said anybody.
You said he, but I was just clarifying, so it doesn't sound like you're saying Jimmy had great throws.
Yes.
Because he had that one throw in the Super Bowl, which I don't forgive him for.
But a lot of NFL quarterbacks, or majority of NFL quarterbacks, they had a good offensive line. They can make really good. Well, that's why they're in the league, right? I don't know about Daniel Jones, but I don't want to pick on him. But anyway, sorry. I wouldn't say every NFL quarterback.
Yes.
But majority of the NFL quarterbacks, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
anyway.
I agree.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about the Super Bowl?
No, not really. It's just, I feel like it's been so long that I feel like everything that can be said already has been said about it.
I loved seeing Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce looking so distraught. Like, that was so much fun. It wasn't that the Eagles were winning. It was that the Chiefs were just so losing, and just losing bad.
Before the possession where Patrick Mahomes threw the first touchdown for the Chiefs in the game, he had a passer rating of 7.6.
Yeah, and wasn't it at halftime they only had was it 20 or 30 yards?
Kendrick Lamar walked more than the Chiefs gained offensive yards.
But I think the Eagles, it was 23 total offensive yards, which was the Eagles had 24 points. So the Eagles had more points than the Chiefs had total offensive yards. Now it's including sacks. And not even if you take you take the interception return yardage, then it might be negative for the Chiefs, negative total yardage. But either way, it was just total domination in the first half, 24-0. It could have been
when you get the Gatorade bath with more than 2 minutes remaining, and it still doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's blowout that I haven't seen in my lifetime.
Yeah, there's been a lot of really good Super Bowls. That's what it was like when I was in the 90s. the NFC would just beat up on the AFC. You had the Niners, you had the Cowboys, and then I think the Packers came along, and the NFC just dominated for years there. Almost every year the Super Bowl was bad. Like the NFC Championship game was really good because you had two really good teams, and the Super Bowls were bad back then. So that kind of reminded me of those age, but which is different. It was kind of interesting to see that, but it was great to see the Chiefs lose. I hope the Niners can duplicate this in some ways of making the offensive and defensive line part of their offseason plans of upgrading, especially the defensive line. They need some difference makers. Like there's some good players they have, but they don't have difference makers, which I don't think we're going to get too much. I think maybe in a couple weeks when it's closer to like free agency, we'll have a free agency primer of who the Niners might lose and stuff like that.
Who they might go for.
Yeah, who they might go for, those types of things. Like, will they be able to, like, briefly, like, can they re-sign Dre Greenlaw? Are they really going to let go of Hargrave? I think they said they're going to cut him, but they want him back. But is that just they're saying they want him back, or they really want him back? I don't know. We'll have to see on that. Does Debo actually get traded because there's like a roster bonus coming for him?
Both times, besides the 2020 season, because everyone is injured. But after Brock Purdy was the quarterback, both times we have not made the Super Bowl, Debo Samuel has requested a trade. After we lost to the Eagles in the NFC Championship and after this season.
Is that like Tyreek Hill? Like Tyreek Hill was walked back his saying, I want to play for, I can't handle, I want to be in the playoffs. Anyway, so there's a lot of offseason news. Maybe in a couple weeks we'll get into some Niner stuff. But hey, the Kings.
We're not doing terrible.
Well, we went 3-1 in the last week.
Yeah.
Since last time we recorded a podcast, the 3-1. Now they played the Pelicans 3 times. Should have gone. I would like to have seen it go 4-0, but they did beat the Pelicans.
Hard to beat a team 3 times in a row, or more or less 4 times in a row, because we already played them early in the season.
Yeah. So the first time we beat them 123-118. Yeah. Then we played the Dallas Mavericks and won that game.
That was the really good overtime game winner by
DeRozan.
Yes.
So
he
it
had
was
48 points in that, 46 points in that game, I think.
42.
42. I am off.
So we won 129-128. That was in Dallas.
Yes.
Next time the Kings are in Dallas, the Eastman Sport Report will be live there.
True. We will not be recording that because that is illegal. But
we can't record the game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We might do in the stadium.
Post-game little recap.
Like how we did last time when we were in
Arena?
Golden One Center.
Yeah.
Watch that right now. Link in the description.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was really sweet because it was in a suite.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how we do on the road. Go the road in 2 weeks.
Maybe I hope they let us bring a tripod in. If not, we can just
you'll have to have one of our travel mates to hold the phone for us for do a short one. We might have to do it outside the arena instead of inside the arena. I don't know if they'll let us record inside the arena. We don't have a press pass. We're aspiring artists.
One day we'll have a press pass. Hopefully,
maybe someday.
Maybe when you're 50. Wait, no, that's next year.
That's next year. Okay.
Maybe when you're 60.
We'll see. I have to have more followers than we do today. We're working on it. Okay, so anyway, the Kings did beat the Pelicans. First game of the back-to-back, 119-111. And then they lost in overtime, 140-133. CJ McCollum has something against the Kings.
For good reason.
We did some research to
he
make
went
sure.
16 for 25 for 43 points that game.
37 in the second half alone. And he made 3 threes in just overtime, like less than 2 minutes. It's part of overtime. So CJ McCollum's pretty good. I wish he was a Sacramento King. And we did go back and look in the 2013 draft.
We could have had him. We were supposed to have him.
We'll
say that.
It's like one of those things that's like they tell him beforehand, like, hey, if you're available, we're going to pick you.
Yes.
Well, the Kings had told him that. And then they drafted Ben McLemore because Ben McLemore fell in the draft.
And he was at the time supposed to be this really good prospect.
Yeah, it was like second or third overall pick. Because if you go back and look at that draft, again, number 1 overall pick was Anthony Bennett, which was a little bit that was probably one of the worst overall picks. So people were thinking like Ben McLemore and Victor Oladipo and Otto Porter were like the top 3.
Yes.
So Victor Oladipo got picked number 2, Otto Porter got picked number 3. Now this was a draft where like they said like 7 or 8 players. I think it was like 7 or 8 deep, like type of thing.
Yes.
Like there wasn't that big of a difference between that. Former
Except
Sacramento
for
King.
Giannis, but no one really knew how good Giannis was going to be at the time. But that's not the point here.
Yeah, and he wasn't very good his first year. But you have Alex Lynn, former Sacramento King. Alex Lynn was number 5 number pick.
Yes.
Nerlens Noel is number 6.
Mm-hmm.
Actually drafted by the Pelicans, since we're talking about Pelicans.
Oh, nice.
And then Ben McLemore, Contavious Caldwell-Pope was 8. 9 was Trey Burke, and 10 was CJ McCollum to the Portland Trailblazers.
Wait, so you're being told that you're going to be drafted number 7, and then you get drafted number 10. I am in pure agony for those first 2 picks after mine.
Yes, like what happened? If you go, I remembered a little about this. So this was right at the time where the Kings ownership was taking over. Vivek Ranadive, sorry,
Yes.
the new Kings owner was taking over. So you had Vivek Ranadive taking over. Jeff Petrie was the long-term. He had been there for, 15 years, I'm guessing. I think at least 98, maybe before then. He was like almost 50, pretty much 15 years. He was a GM for the Kings, presided over the 8 years that were the best years in the Sacramento Kings era, all that good stuff. And then he was, anyway. So he is probably the one that told CJ McCollum, I'm drafting you. Well, a week before the draft, Vivek Ranadive hired Pete D'Alessandro. Probably the worst GM in at least Sacramento Kings history, maybe in the whole NBA.
I don't know.
He's horrible. Let's put it that way.
GM of the Mavericks has a competition.
And so,
Collins. Oh boy.
So he came on a week before the job, and then he's like, "Oh, hey, Ben McLemore is supposed to be the high according to mock drafts.
Yeah,
I'm just going to draft Ben McLemore." So anyway, CJ McCollum has something against the Kings.
I wonder why.
Yeah,
he'll probably hate us until Vivek is gone.
He'll probably hate us for his whole career. Whenever he sees the Kings, Sacramento on the jersey, he probably gets a little
red in his eyes.
Yes. So we did beat the Kings. And we beat the Pelicans 2 out of 3, but the way their record is, we should have beat them all 3 times.
Yes.
And without going through too much of the whole games, in some ways, I'm afraid at this Pelicans game where, if you really think about it, like the last couple of games, the first 4 games here. Now, I'm saying this with understanding the Kings have not had any practice time. Coming out of the break, they will have practice time with their new players.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, and hey, by the way, we got Markelle Fultz.
I hope he does good. I hope he does good. Seems like
I don't know if he's going to see the court. He was not on a team this year. There's a reason why he wasn't in the league. Now, he's a former number 1 overall pick. Anyway, maybe
I hope he does good.
Hopefully he does something. But if you look at it, the Kings scored 123, then 129 in overtime, 119 in regulation, and then 133 in overtime.
Yes.
Did the Kings have to score 130 points to win every game? Or roughly 120 or more?
Because you traded away one of the best guard defenders in the league, De'Aaron Fox,
two-way player,
and replaced him with Zach LaVine,
who's a good offensive player. But I give you that.
He's a good offensive player. He's fine offensively. That's not the point.
Yes.
He did score, 32 points.
And 10 assists.
And 10 assists against the Pelicans when we in the overtime game. But the reason why the Pelicans scored 140 points in overtime is because he can't really play defense. And if you play Zach LaVine for 45 minutes and he can't really play defense, you're just letting the other team's offense be able to score. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, if you go through this Kings starting lineup, Malik Monk is not a plus defender. Zach LaVine, probably worse than Malik Monk.
Yes.
DeMar DeRozan, I think he's in between Malik Monk and DeMar DeRozan. Again, all 3 of them are negative defenders.
DeMar DeRozan in between who?
Monk and LaVine.
Okay.
What did I say?
You said DeRozan's probably in between Monk and DeRozan.
Sorry, people. Okay.
It's the weekend. His brain doesn't work.
Sometimes it doesn't. Okay. In between LaVine and Monk for but still a negative defender.
And then there's Sabonis, who's a good defender.
I would say he's right about league average. Because he's not a shot blocking center, but he is a good positional defender. He's a great rebounder. So there's some good things about him. He's probably right in that line of, is he plus defender, negative defender? Probably in that line, maybe slightly above average. Keegan Murray's above average.
Yes.
Give you that.
Agree.
Okay, so out of your starting lineup, you have 1 truly plus defender. Coming off your bench, you have Keelan Ellis, your best defender.
Yes.
Okay. Jake LaRavia, he has good attributes. He's been on a good Memphis team, so he has really good defensive ratings when he's on the court.
Yes.
But that's in Memphis, so I don't know if that's truly him or if a whole bunch of the players around him. Either way, he's probably a good defender.
And then there's Trey Lyles.
He's physical. I wouldn't say he's amazing. Again, he's probably in the range of a little worse than Sabonis, so probably he's right around average defender, let's call it.
Okay. And then there's Jonas Valanciunas, which is like, he's really tall, so...
He's big,
but
he's not athletic.
He's not so he's not as positional as Sabonis is, but he's like... he's just really long.
Well, he's also, from a defender perspective, I love watching... he's really good at his verticality. He jumps straight up. And I love seeing it if you're watching on the screen. He jumps up and a guy comes in the lane and bounces off of him. That has happened like at least once every game that I've watched. Sometimes twice, where the guy just runs in and bounces off him. He's like, where's the foul? He went straight up. He's big, you're small, you bounce off. So he has some good attributes to him. But again, there's probably only 2 out of your top 9 that are plus defenders. So again, do you have to score 125 to 130 points to win a game? And if you don't, I think the Kings are, they have a chance to do it. If you look in the forward here, so where are the Kings at as we go forward?
Kings are currently 9th in the West.
Okay. So if they're 9th in the West, they are 28 and 27, right?
Yes. They are behind Mavericks, who are 30 and 26.
So they're a game and a half.
Yes. And then the Timberwolves are 31 and 25. So they're 2 games and a half ahead of us.
Yeah, and then the Clippers are 1 game ahead of them. The Lakers are 2 games ahead of them.
Yes.
The Rockets are a half a game. So, I mean, there's not that much breaking difference between things. But, like, if you step back, like the Kings to the 5th seed, they're 5.5 games behind. And they also are tied with the Warriors, and they are right now 1.5 games better than the Phoenix Suns. And if you want to bring in the Spurs, they're 3.5 ahead of the Spurs. The Kings' first game, before I get into the second half season, so they're 28-27.
Yes.
Our beginning of this, so this is normally they say the All-Star break is the middle of the season. We have, I think, 27 games to go. We've played 55. We have 27 to go. So it's more like 2/3 of the season's done. We have a third left.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay? Roughly a third. At the beginning of the season, I think Max picked 51. I said 52 wins. If you go for mine, to get 52 wins, the Kings would have to go, 24-3 the rest of the way. So mathematically, it's possible.
It's technically possible.
But
I feel like a more reasonable thing would be like, I'd say now in the All-Star break, and we have 27 games left, correct?
27 games left. Do you want to make a prediction of how we're going to do for the last 27 games?
Okay. Let me look at the...
If you want to look at the schedule. So they play Golden State out of the
State
So
yes.
If they're going to get anywhere up in standings, they have to start strong out of the All-Star break. They play Golden State, which they just traded for Jimmy Butler.
Yes.
So that's not going to be an easy game. But they're tied with you. If you want to move up the standings, you had better beat them. And the Kings also had a couple of days of rest. Hopefully, Draymond Green and Steph Curry and crew are tired from hosting the All-Star game, and there'll be a little holdover, but I doubt it. Anyway, then they play Charlotte and Utah.
Okay.
They better win those. So, like, that's where if you go back and, like, the Kings, if they had been on a 4-game win streak and beat the Pelicans, they almost should be at a 7-game win streak going into when we go on the road. Okay? But they're not. Let's say, hopefully they're on a 3-game winning streak.
Can I say something quickly? So, when the Kings were the 3rd seed 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Okay.
I don't know.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. They had 48 wins.
Yes.
If we were to win about half, which is 14 games of the remaining season, we would be at 41. I think, or 41 or 42. 42 wins.
42
Would be at
gets you
42.
Yeah, they'd be at 42 if you win 14. So if you go 14 and 13, you're at 42.
Which 42 in that season would have put you in between the Thunder and the Pelicans, would have put you in the play-in game, and you actually would have been above the Thunder in that year.
Yeah.
If we go to the season after that, which is the one that just happens, you are not in the play-in game because the Warriors, who were the last seed in the play-in
Last year?
last year, had 46 wins.
Yeah, and they didn't make it.
And they didn't make it.
Yeah, so I don't know where the thing's going to end up, but basically, yeah, I totally agree with you. If you get to 42, which is where the Kings are trending, they're one game over 500. If you get to 42, you're 2 games over. So that would be where the Kings are trending. And I don't even know if they could see to the play-in tournament. Like, you might be the 10th seed, but I have no idea. It's really hard to say. So that's going to be really tough. I doubt they're going to win the 24 they need to get. So somewhere between 24 and 14, like, if you want to even be in the conversation, you got to get there. What I was going to say earlier is they have to start strong out of the All-Star break because they get to a 7-game homestand in the middle of March. And they play the number 1 and number 2 seed in both the East and the West during this 7-game homestretch. So they play Memphis, who is number 2. Cleveland is number 1 in the East. Then you play Chicago. And Milwaukee, who's tough. Then you play Boston, who's number 2 in the East. Then Oklahoma City is number 1 in the West. So out of a 6-game stretch with Chicago and Milwaukee in between there.
Milwaukee's the 5th seed.
Which is, so no slouch.
But they also just got Kyle Kuzma, which made their team infinitely worse. But
we'll see. I doubt it. I agree with you. So, like, that is a 7-game homestand with Portland at the end.
Yes.
Which you just lost to. Which is going to be tough. So,
yeah,
like,
I totally agree.
If you don't start hot out of the All-Star game, I don't think we make the playoffs. Like, if we go to, when we, let's say, like our road trip, when we come back from our road trip, if we do not have a significant lead, over 500, let's say, just over 500. Right now we're 1 game over. If we don't get to 5 games over 500 really quickly, we're done. We're not making we might make the play-in tournament. We're not making the stinking playoffs. Playoffs? You talking playoffs?
Playoffs?
Anyway, yeah. So, yeah. I would like to, like, I went down through the list and I would just had the fun with it of, like, with my purple colored glasses and my optimistic view. I think the Kings might be able to win about 18 games for the rest of the season, which puts you at about 46 wins. I think they could do that. Now, will they? I have no idea. We'll have fun watching and listening and see if they can. But, like, 46 wins probably doesn't get you, might get you to the 7th or 8th seed, let's say. And you're playing in the play-in tournament now. So we'll see.
If you're the 7 and 8 seed, though, you have 2 chances.
Yes.
But knowing as a Kings fan, you're probably going to not do so hot in those 2 chances. So,
I mean, Keon Ellis had an amazing game in the play-in tournament last game when we beat the Warriors. So maybe
Klay Thompson went 0 for 10.
Yeah,
I'll never forget that.
That was awesome. The last game that he played in the Warriors jersey. So, yeah, we'll see.
So after the 7, oh my gosh, my eyes hurt. It's because
did you have cashews?
No, I'm fine. Don't traumatize me like that again. Before we started recording this, the sunbeam was directly in my eyes, so I'm still recovering from that. One of the episodes that we did record, we decided not to upload because one of the files corrupted and other things. One of the things is that I had an allergic reaction while recording the episode. So you can just see me slowly get more and more uncomfortable through the episode and my face get redder. And I'm like, Dad, can you please finish? Yeah. I really don't want to be here right now.
Yeah, he wanted me to talk, and I was like trying to get him to engage with me, and he was not. Anyway,
I was like, please finish. Something's wrong. I can't say that something's wrong because there's a camera right there, there's a microphone right here, but something's wrong.
Anyway, everybody missed that episode. That's why we joke about cashews on here. We think he's allergic because he never had them before. Anyway, back to our.
So the 7-game homestand is, in my opinion, the most important part of the season, because after that you play Orlando, you play Indiana, you play Washington. You should beat Washington. If you don't beat Washington, what are you
and
doing? Charlotte as well. But you also play Charlotte earlier, so like if you split that,
yeah. And Detroit's about the same good record wise as the Kings are right now.
So, in my opinion, you should beat Indiana. You should beat Washington. You should beat Charlotte. You should beat Detroit. You can lose to Orlando. I'm fine with that. You can lose to Cleveland,
which is like a horrible matchup to
yes.
the Kings. But
And
anyway,
you can lose Cleveland. I'm fine with that because
Yeah.
the Cleveland Cavaliers are really good.
So after the 7-game road instead, they go to a 6-game road trip,
which is a lot of easier opponents than the homestand.
So
was.
hopefully they can go 4-2 in that trip, but they might go like 2-5 in the previous homestand.
Yeah.
So like they kind of have to, and then you come home and you play 3 games at home to end up at Denver, Clippers, and Phoenix, and you're like at home. Hopefully they're playing for something, and we'll see how they end up with that. So,
what are your final predictions after looking at all this for the Kings?
I think they're going to be in the play-in tournament.
Yeah,
I have confidence that they're going to be in the play-in tournament. I think there's a chance that they can get up to this 5th or 6th seed. I don't know about 5th. I think if the Kings play good, and if you look at like some of the other problems with the other teammates, like will the Lakers or Clippers fall down? I don't know. Possibly. Minnesota Timberwolves. Did they trade for some of the?
No.
Dallas is right above the Kings. Dallas doesn't have a big guy for the next month or so.
Yeah.
Like they lost Gafford,
AD,
and what's the other one? It's not Lively, is it? Is it Derick Lively?
It's not Derick Lively. I'll check for you.
Okay. So, but all 3 of them are out right now, and so like that's where the Kings need to make up ground right away. So like when we're in Dallas in a couple weeks, like will any of those big guys be there? I don't think so. Maybe not. Maybe one of them. So Dallas could fall down.
Powell or PJ Washington?
No, not neither one of those.
Where the heck are you, Anthony Davis, on this depth chart? He's not on the depth chart. Interesting.
Okay, now I'm curious for who I'm talking about here.
Injuries. Okay. Daniel Gafford, Klay Thompson, Kyrie Irving, PJ Washington, Dwight Powell, Anthony Davis.
Yeah, it's Derick Lively the second. There it is right there, center. Derick Lively.
Mavericks announced Wednesday that will be revalidated in 4 weeks after being diagnosed with a right ankle stress fracture. Yikes.
Yeah. So that's where you're like, if the Kings can move up, like I think they could catch up, like I say, to Dallas if they can do things good the next couple of weeks, and hopefully they can stay ahead of them. And and can they catch Minnesota? I think Minnesota is catchable. I don't know if they can catch the Clippers and the Lakers unless something goes wrong with them, somebody gets injured. Lakers don't have a big guy right now. Well, they have Alex
hold
Len.
on. It's the 4. Is it the 5 and 6 seed that play each other, or the 4 and 5 seed that play each other?
4 and 5 that play each other.
I wanted the Clippers and Lakers to play against each other in the playoffs. Battle for LA. Anyways,
well, they could if Houston keeps falling down. Houston has come down a little bit, so that is a possibility.
Houston is 3-7 in their last 10. So
yeah, they've fallen down a little bit, and the Lakers are 8-2 because they got Luka.
Wonder why.
Wonder why. Maybe Luka's pretty good. It's shocking.
Not if you're Nico Collins. But my final predictions is at best we're going to be the 7th seed. I think we're going to be in the 8th or 9th seed. I don't see us going all the way down to 10. Well, I see us how we could. I don't see that we will go down to 10.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And I also think it is perfectly reasonable that the Kings will just stay at the 9th seed for the rest of this until the season ends.
Well, they might fluctuate with runs, but I think they could end up at 9. Which the interesting thing is, our draft pick is top 12 protected. So if we don't make the play-in,
we don't have a draft pick.
Well, if we get the 13th or 14th pick, it goes to Atlanta. If it's the 12th or lower pick, we get to keep it. So there is a chance that if we don't make the playoffs, we get to keep our draft pick. That'd be the worst case scenario is you don't make the playoffs and you lose your draft pick.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Don't be the 10th seed, basically.
Yeah. The other thing is so I want to wrap up. I want to ask you a question, Max. With the roster that we have today, which if you think about the roster that we have today, between Zach LaVine, big money contract, DeMar DeRozan still making $25 million, but he's 35 years old. Zach LaVine making $40-something million, and he's 29.
Yes.
Sabonis is right around 28, 27, somewhere in there, making $40 million a year.
Bless you.
Malik Monk is making about $18 million a year.
Yes.
Keegan Murray is due an extension at the end of the year.
Okay.
He's probably going to make $20-something million a
Okay,
year.
where are you going with this?
What's the long-term? What's the best case scenario for the Kings in the next 2 years? In the next 2 years, what's the best case scenario for the Kings?
I think that if the King, as a roster that this team is constructed, the only players that I see staying in the staying in the next 3 years or even 2 years out from now, like next season and then the year after that, the only players that I see staying are Domantas Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, and hopefully Keon Ellis. Those are the only 4 players that I see staying on this team.
Oh, see, I would think the only 3 players I see is Keegan Murray, Sabonis, and Keon Ellis.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the next 2 years, they're going to trade either DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and maybe even Malik Monk, which would be hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
I like Malik Monk. He's an awesome player.
I agree.
But I don't know if he can be a consistent starter point guard.
Mm-hmm.
He was an awesome at his off-the-bench role. And he's actually doing decent as the, probably the 3rd or 4th best option in there.
Yes.
On offense. But now he's the primary ball handler
Mm-hmm.
with 2 other ball-dominant players, as Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Like, if this is probably this team that you have next year, unless you make a large trade, this is probably the team you're going to have next year. Can we make the play? Can we get in the top 6 next year, or is this something that's going to talk about in the future? But
I think we're going to be like the Chicago Bulls, or no, not the Chicago Bulls. I think we're going to be like the Atlanta Hawks for this year and next year, where we're going to be
good,
but we're not great. We're not going to be playoff teams. We're just going to be constantly fighting to be in that play-in spot until we get another generational player like De'Aaron Fox, who can make your city a bigger city. You can make your team a better team, like an actual leader that you can put hope in besides DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine.
If you want to say best case scenario for the Kings,
Mm-hmm.
let's just go best case scenario for the Kings.
I'd say we'd somehow trade for a really good draft pick next year, or we need to trade for a young star that can replace Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah.
Would that be I don't know if that would be a guard.
Or a wing.
Yeah.
It could be a small forward type of player.
It could be a small forward. It could be a LeBron James that goes in. It could be a Jason Tatum that comes in.
Yeah.
But or you could just get a better guard that Malik Monk that can lead your team like Steph Curry, like De'Aaron Fox did for so many years.
You know what my best case scenario is?
What?
Kings don't make the playoffs this year and win the lottery and get Cooper Flag.
We wouldn't have our draft pick, Dad.
No, if you don't make the playoffs.
Oh, that kind of top 12 predicted.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So if you don't make the playoffs, you're in the lottery. Everybody has a chance to win. Even if you're the 13th or 14th player. Now, it's only like 1% chance of odds. But you could totally get the number 1 pick. Now, it's like 1% chance.
Cooper Flag says that he was considering coming back next year to Duke.
He won't. I seriously doubt that.
He says he wants to come back. Quote by him, he wants to.
Yeah, I have heard that before, and they come out. I've also heard the number 2 overall pick is going to be really good too.
Mm-hmm.
But like Cooper Flag is like almost as generational as I don't want to totally say it, but I am.
No. Take what you're gonna say. Bring it down 1 bar.
Is he as good as a Wemby or LeBron James?
No. Heck nah.
The reason
I
why
thought you were going to say Luka Doncic.
No.
Like a generation knows Luka Doncic. And then I was going to, no, take that down bar. Say like
I want it higher.
Say like a Paul George type player.
No, he's way better than that. He is way better than Paul George. Because when he was playing in the NBA or the USA select team last year, did you hear what they said about him?
No.
He's playing against the team that won the gold medal.
Yes.
They said he was one of the best players on the court. He could have been on that gold medal team and played regular minutes. He was that good. He dominated one of the scrimmages against LeBron James and Steph Curry. There was one scrimmage where he dominated the game on both ends.
Okay.
Now Keegan Murray was playing with him, and he dominated the game.
Because of Keegan Murray.
Because of Keegan Murray.
Exactly.
Let's bring Keegan Murray and Cooper Flag back together again. That's my best case scenario.
Best case scenario is that this team is not built for championships as it's made.
No, it's not.
You have to get you have to get someone else so you can build a championship roster.
Yeah.
But
let's put it this way. Are you okay with the Kings being this middle of the road, make the playoffs maybe once or two times the next couple of years, and then trade people away and rebuild? Or would you like to see them in the offseason totally blow everything up and go into total rebuild mode? And we only got the playoffs 1 year.
Well, it's kind of hard because I've been suffering for so long and I'd like to not suffer just for a little bit. And just try to hold on to something, like how the Atlanta Hawks are. Like, they're not going to be a championship contender, but they're just holding on to Trae Young and their small group of players that are pushing the tiny little rock of Sisyphus up the hill, and and they're never going to reach it.
I mean, they're 8th seed right now.
They've
right there with the Kings.
But I don't want to be the Atlanta Hawks. I want to be someone else. I want to be like the Memphis Grizzlies, whose entire culture changed from being one of the worst teams in the league to the second best team in the league.
Or Houston Rockets.
Like, if we go back to the 2019-2020 season, the Memphis Grizzlies are in the play-in game. They're 34-39. If we go back to a year after that, the 2020-2021 season, they are 38-34. Sort of middle of the road, you see. And then we go to the year after that. They are now the second seed, 56-26. I want to be something like that because they changed. Ja Morant changed the Grizzlies. They had to build him up a little bit, but he changed the Grizzlies because people wanted to play with Ja Morant.
They had to win the lottery to get on that. They won the lottery and they got Ja Morant. I mean, last time we were in the lottery, we got Keegan Murray. So, well, technically, I guess last year we were technically in the lottery, but you get the point. Anyway, okay, well, it's kind of a good discussion just to kind of see where we're going. But
best case scenario, restart. That's what I'm basically saying.
Yeah, it might be a few years, but I think before they rebuild. But let's enjoy what they have, and hopefully we can make some noise in the playoffs this year. So, I mean, there's a chance, and let's keep hoping to that. And so let's go enjoy our Kings and cheer them on. So, any parting thoughts there, Max?
Happy President's Weekend.
Hey,
President's Day. I don't get the week off. I get the day off, unlike other people who get the entire week off, which is like, I wish I had that.
When I was in school, you got 2 Mondays in a row. One was Lincoln's birthday. One was Lincoln and Washington's birthday.
Well, I got Valentine's Day off. So does that balance it out for me? Because
I
got a
4-day weekend. I had 2-3 days. And now some people get a whole week off. Anyway, happy President's Day weekend, NBA All-Star weekend. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate everybody that watches this. It's super fun to see people watch this. Our father-son coach-player little podcast. We totally have fun doing this. Thank you for listening. See you next time on the Eastman Sport Report.
Bye.